Hi guys. Today's vlog is gonna be all the things that went wrong at my kind of alternative style wedding. And when I say alternative, I don't mean like indie. There was 300 people there. It wasn't sit down. It was all food stations, and I basically wanted it to be a party from start to finish. Basically, here's what went right. Would recommend doing food stations. Everybody just gets up, buffet, take your food, go sit, whatever. I never closed the bars at one point in my wedding, except for when I was walking down the aisle, and even then I don't think I closed them. I just thought to myself, whoever's fucking crazy enough to be getting a drink when I'm walking down the aisle will be noted and removed. Everybody obviously watched me. There's a few things that went wrong with this entire, otherwise pretty seamless process. Starting at the beginning, I was not gonna get a planner because I was like, I don't need that, I'm so chill. Then I met the coordinator for the place I was getting married, and she was really, really nice. And I was like, okay, great. I don't need a planner. Like, this is great. I booked the venue a year and a half before my actual wedding. So in our first few interactions, I realized that this chick was really bad at responding. Like, she wouldn't respond for weeks. And if she did respond, she'd be like, oh, sorry, I didn't get your message. I would contact her over various mediums. Like, I'd call her, I'd leave a voicemail, I'd send her an email, I would text her, I'd call her cell phone. And she'd be like, oh, sorry, I missed that. And she said that to me a few too many times where I was like, okay, you're not missing all of these. Like, what is going on? So as the wedding gets like closer, and by closer I mean maybe it's a year away instead of a year and a half away, I say to her, do you think I should get a wedding planner? And she's like, you should definitely get a wedding planner, which was good advice because she probably knew how much she wasn't gonna do. Again, it was a huge wedding. It was 300 people. It was all cocktail style. It wasn't following like a traditional format. Getting married on the dance floor. Like, I wasn't even flipping the room. I was walking in, getting married on the dance floor. My wedding actually started an hour before I even got there. So people were partying, and then the party just kind of paused. I got married, and then the party continued. So anyway, I end up getting a wedding planner. Thank fucking God. As we are getting closer to the date, this site coordinator like keeps fucking stuff up. And after she fucks the stuff up, I can't get in touch with her. So like, she would send me a quote. Every quote had something completely different that we'd never talked about before. Like, to the point where I was wondering if maybe she like had amnesia, or like she would send me a quote that had like A, B, and C for like 8 bartenders. And then I'd be like, oh, actually, can you fix this? And she'd be like, sure. And then the next quote would have 6 bartenders and have like $400 for coat hangers. And I'm like, what happened here? She just like wasn't on it. And thank God my dad and my wedding planner were there, because I'm not someone that's on it. If you're someone that's on it, you might not need these extra people, but I am not someone that's on it. So I was very happy that I had a wedding planner and a fucking crazy dad looking over everything fine tooth comb style. This was the annoying part too. She was the site coordinator. So her job is coordinating, meaning every single thing we needed to do, every vendor we needed to get in contact with, like food trucks, furniture, DJ, sound, whatever, we had to go through her. She just took way too long to respond. Like, everything could have been done so much earlier if she was more on the ball. But whatever, like, it did get done, so I guess that's fine. Here's where I got a little bit angry. It was a month before my wedding. My wedding was on New Year's Eve, okay? She says to me, oh, by the way, there's an event in the hall that your wedding is in the night before your wedding. All of your furniture, everything, whatever, has to be delivered on your wedding day, not the day before your wedding, which is what we previously decided and told all the vendors. So my wedding, again, is on New Year's Eve. No vendor wanted to deliver that day. Sure, okay, what are you gonna do? There's nowhere to put all these couches and whatever. And also the place I chose, I had to bring everything in, like every spoon, every place, anything that was in that room, I chose and paid for, which I would recommend not doing. Maybe go to a hotel or something better than what I fucking did. Call my wedding planner who's doing all my correspondence. Thank God. And I'm like, hey, did you see the email? She's like, yep, I'm on it. She emails everybody. Caterers, all the rentals, neon lights, DJ, band, cutlery was a different rental, like plates and shit like that was something else. I had 2 companies bringing in furniture because one did tables and the other did couches. She contacts everybody. She's like, you have to deliver New Year's Eve. Most of them say yes, except the wine vendor. We ordered wine, we ordered our own booze. The biggest reason I chose this venue in the first place, just so you know, is because we could bring in our own booze. And then I could customize my bar because I actually fucking drink and I don't want Smirnoff at my bar. The liquor store's cool. They'll bring it in New Year's Eve, even though I was worried about that because they're unionized. The wine, they're like, no, sorry, we're closed that day. So I call the site coordinator. She picks up by the grace of God. And I'm like, hey, the wine actually needs to get here the day before the wedding. Like, do you have anywhere you can put it? This venue, by the way, is massive. I'm like, do you have anywhere you can put it? She's like, oh yeah, we'll find somewhere to put it. I'm like, good. The other thing worth noting is that my bridal party was coming from out of town the day before my wedding. We were gonna do the rehearsal the day before my wedding. But when she called and said, there's actually an event in your room that day, I told them, we're not gonna do a rehearsal, just come over to my apartment, we'll just fucking walk. Like, it's casual anyway, right? So I was like, we'll just do a rehearsal there. Imagine I was someone that cared about a rehearsal though. Just wait. I go to the venue 2 weeks before my wedding for like a final walkthrough of just like where everything's gonna go. I'm with my planner, whatever. And this site coordinator says to me, are you doing a rehearsal? And I go, no, I can't because there's an event here the night before. And she's like, oh, right. And she's like, why don't you do it 2 days before your wedding? Then I'm like, I can't. Everybody's coming in from out of town. I can't make them come in 1 day earlier just to practice walking in a line. Like, if we don't get it the day before, we're not doing it. And she's like, okay, true. 4 days before my wedding, I'm looking at something and I catch, and this is with my dad, my wedding planner, this coordinator, and me being the person who's the least qualified to do any of this. Like, my dad owns restaurants, my planner does this, the coordinator does this, and me, I'm just fucking here. And I happened to see that one of the furniture companies, all the couches, which it was mainly couches because it was a party, one of the furniture companies still says drop off the 31st. So I call them and I'm like, hey, I think there's been a mistake here. I actually need you to drop it off December 30th. They go, we're closed the 30th. And I'm like, oh my God, like, where am I gonna put all these couches? And again, this is 4 days before my wedding. There's 2 halls at the venue. I email the site coordinator and I'm like, hey, I know there's an event in my hall, but is it possible we can put the couches in the other hall and then move them in the next day? The reason that wouldn't be ideal, obviously, is because if they come the day of the event, they can place the couches where you want them. If they come the day before, the staff at the venue, who is not movers, would have to move the couches from one place to another, which is not their job. I don't know what to do. This is almost everything. It's couches and coffee tables and lounge sets and like whatever. Like, can we just put them in the other hall? She doesn't answer. I'm like, oh my God. So I call her, she doesn't answer. I'm like, okay. So then I sent her an email and I'm like, hey, is there any fucking way you can do this? It just needs to be somewhere in that building. They're closed the next day. This is like all my furniture, like whatever. She responds, guys, she responds and says, hey, just put them in your hall. There's no event that day. What? Just put them in my hall? There's no event that day? So I messaged her back. I'm like, are we talking about the same day? She's like, 30th, there's no event in your hall. I'm like, is everything okay with you though? So, okay, first of all, I respond and say, all right, can I do my rehearsal then? And she goes, I don't see why not. 1 week ago, I was walking through here and you said, are you doing a rehearsal the day before your wedding? And I said, no, because there's an event here. And you said, right, why don't you do it 2 days before? And I said, oh, because my bridal party's from out of town. This entire month, you have been CC'd on every correspondence of my wedding planner trying to get everybody to deliver New Year's Eve instead of New Year's Eve. Like, the way she was just like, oh, just get them to deliver it here. What? That's crazy. Like, literally the amount of people we are making work on New Year's Eve because you made up or read something wrong, or I don't know what you did. And it was weird when she told me that there was an event the night before my wedding, told me that a month out. So I was kind of like, what? Someone booked a wedding a month out? So in my mind then I was like, well, this space cadet forgot that this wedding has been there the whole time and she's just telling me now. That's what I thought happened. But no. There was just no, where did that information even come from? Anyway, it obviously turned out fine, but there were so many small businesses I had hired for my wedding, like as a favor, not big companies, to come in on New Year's Eve so that they could get like recognized. I'm just like your whole job is to look at the date, right? You're a coordinator, right? You're coordinating shit in this building. How do you not know when stuff's happening? And how is this affecting me so hectically when I've been dealing with you for a year and a half? Like, how do you not know what is going on around that date? Also, it's New Year's Eve. It's not like, oh, that random date in June, like there's 20 weddings. It's like my wedding is probably one of 2 in December. And I'm so nice too. Well, not actually. I don't know why I said it like that. I'm really nice to service industry people because I've been working in the service industry like my entire life. But when you're paying 30 grand for a place, for a room essentially with your servers and whatever, I'm also paying time and a half because it was New Year's Eve, which, you know, whatever. I mean, New Year's Day is the holiday, but do you? And also you're adding in all these random, like, suddenly I'm paying for coat hangers, suddenly I'm paying for this, suddenly you forgot how many bartenders I hired, suddenly you forgot how many plates I need. And it's just like, maybe someone who has memory issues shouldn't be doing this very important job. Not very important, obviously it's not fucking brain surgery, but in terms of an event, an important job. So I needed a wedding planner. That's facts. Other than that, everything went pretty smoothly. The only thing I would absolutely not recommend is leaving the bars open the whole time. The only time I wish I closed the bars was during speeches. The room was really big and people were just standing around the bar chatting, and that part really pissed me off, how people were talking through the speeches. That wasn't great. Other than that, if you want to throw a wedding that's an absolute rager, I say open bar all night. I didn't want any stop and go. That was the thing about my wedding. I did not want the thing that happens at weddings where you get fucking hammered during the cocktail party. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, you're hammered, sit down, watch these speeches for 2 hours. And then when the speeches are over, eat a fucking massive steak. And then get up and dance. Like, I don't like adult activity time, adult summer camp. And no shade to anybody that's done a wedding like that. That's just not my vibe. It just demands too much of like an adult body. I'm not the kind of person that can get hammered, then sit, bars are closed, right? Everybody's doing speeches. And then sit, sober up, starving. And then the food comes out late. And then I eat it because I'm starving. And then what happens when you've sobered up and eat? You get sleepy. And then they're like, all right, now the party's starting. Like, what? I can't do this again. We should have just kept the party going from cocktail hour because that's when everybody was fucking hammered. That's what I wanted to do for my wedding. I was basically like, the party starts and it does not stop, because if it stops, we will not make it to midnight, and this is a New Year's Eve wedding. But other than that, I don't know what the point of this vlog was. Questions about like planning a silly goose wedding, let me know. I have all my wedding footage. Well, no, I don't. Not all my wedding footage. I haven't even gotten the video yet. I have a lot of my wedding footage up on my TikTok if you want to go look at it, and if you have any questions about anything, like I'm happy you only get married once. Fingers crossed. I don't want to do that again. I had a great time at the end of the night, but up until 10 o'clock, one of the more stressful days of my life. Not because anything was going wrong, just because I am such a host. I'm such a host. Seriously, I'm such a host that I wasn't thinking about myself on my wedding day. I never was. My wedding day was always about throwing an epic rager, and on top of it, it was a New Year's Eve party, so it was kind of like, is this good enough? And I think the footage shows that it definitely was. Oh, also one more thing I will say, if you're gonna do a party style wedding, just go overboard on the staff. No one's gonna care about anything. They're not gonna care about your centerpieces, but they are gonna care if they're waiting in line forever for a drink. And since mine was a party vibe, I knew that there's gonna be people at the bar all night, like they cannot wait for a drink. So we spent extra on like having 2 extra bartenders. The 8 bartenders instead of 6 that this woman forgot about. Anyway, sorry this was kind of like a disjointed, all over the place fucky vlog, but if you liked it, thumbs up, smash the subscribe button, and subscribe to my OF. I'm kidding. Should I? Thanks guys. If there's anything you want to hear me talk about, you can let me know down below. Double sword tap.